Hello, I'm Barbara Lee Van Horsen, the Experi-Mentor at the Momentum Center. I'd like to begin by introducing you to Alex. Alex is 24 years old now and he's doing really well. But when he was a junior in high school, he had his first break with reality. When he was a senior, he had his second break. And then at 19 years old, he went through a long 5 months in and out of hospitals and residential care until they finally found the right medicine to treat his schizophrenia and stabilize his life. But by the time that happened, he'd lost all of his friends. Now, research tells us that the most important thing for maintaining or gaining our health is human connection. But in those circumstances, how do you even begin? Now, Alex's story is far from unique. In fact, 1 of every 4 Americans will experience a significant mental illness at some point during their lifetime. In Ottawa County, 17% of the adults report depression and 15% report an anxiety disorder. And our teens are in crisis. In a typical classroom of 30 students, 5 of those students have seriously considered suicide and 2 to 3 have made an attempt. Now, the good news is 70 to 90% of people get better with some kind of treatment. But the bad news is 60% never seek any treatment at all. And the biggest barrier to that is stigma, which is why the Momentum Center exists. We are a grassroots movement to create a stigma-free community. So how did we get here? We began by not having a particular ending in mind. We were organic in our evolution. We started by just wanting to connect people who wanted to make a difference with opportunities to do that, and along the way to look for where there were gaps in services. We knew we would have to have a social entrepreneurial aspect. Having worked at nonprofits that were not financially sustainable, we knew we needed to find some kind of income stream so that eventually we would have some of our own money coming in and would be less dependent on the charitable impulses of others. We began holding community conversations, which led to the beginning of a social lab. So we started talking to the community and heard over and over again that the #1 thing people wanted to talk about was mental illness. So we scheduled our first town hall meeting on mental illness, assembled a panel of experts, and then let them listen to people from the grassroots sharing their experience. Those people in attendance also informed the choices for who would sit on a mental illness task force and address the gaps that were identified. It was our version, a nonprofit version, of a social lab. And it was the work of the social lab that led to the opening of the Momentum Center. The Momentum Center for Social Engagement is a social and recreational program for people with mental illness, addictions, and disabilities. A year after we opened, we added the Momentum Center for Teens program, and 6 months later, we expanded that program to include 11 and 12-year-olds. I'd like to take you inside the Momentum Center for a brief tour. The Momentum Center is a grassroots movement to create a stigma-free community. We offer opportunities to nurture, educate, and inspire individuals, so together we can address issues of social justice and human rights in our community. Located at 714 Columbus, the Momentum Center for Social Engagement offers recreational opportunities for adults with mental illness, addictions, and disabilities, people just like me and just like you. Momentum Center Teens offers social and recreational opportunities for young people, beginning at 11 years old.
It is like a hope. It is kind of like a beacon, it is a place that we congregate, that we gather.
When you're not having a good day, there's someone there that you can talk to and socialize with.
We never had a place like this to go to before, and we needed one really desperately.
They go out their way to take us on field trips, and they don't charge us anything.
I've really got to know a lot of my friends through the Momentum that I wouldn't have if I never started this journey.
No diagnosis or referral is needed, and membership in either program is just $1 a year. The Momentum Center moves people out of isolation and into a community that is safe, welcoming, and working day by day to dismantle stereotypes and end stigma. Just Goods Gifts and Cafe is a fair trade store and coffee shop located inside the Momentum Center. It is open to the public 7 days a week and features a $1 menu of local baked goods and coffee. Just Goods provides a place of social integration and a model for creating a stigma-free community. The Momentum Center facilitates community conversations, including town hall meetings on mental illness, resource fairs, movie nights, social gatherings, and monthly Inspire events. Inspire events are interactive and action-oriented. They focus on topics that affect all of us and challenge us to do something about the issues we discuss. Everyone is invited to join these collaborative community conversations. The Momentum Center leads cultural immersion experiences around the world. Cultural immersion is not a vacation or a mission trip, but an opportunity to learn about people, customs, and community. Cultural immersion experiences are both international and local, including opportunities to address the cultural divide just across the bridge. Contact us to reserve your place on a life-changing cultural immersion experience.
So you must sign up and come next year with us. Thank you.
The Momentum Center embraces the idea of mudita, a Sanskrit word that means I rejoice in your good fortune. We celebrate the good fortune of people who were once isolated and have now found community. And we invite you to celebrate with us. Donate, attend, volunteer, participate in our annual events, including the Salmon Run to erase stigma and Prom with a Purpose. Have a wonderful experience while you help create a stigma-free community. The Momentum Center is a community response to a community issue. We need you to be part of this community solution. So what are the innovative ideas that are showing forth at the Momentum Center? Well, first of all, it is a social and recreational program that complements other clinical and therapeutic services. It deliberately integrates populations that are normally segregated, specifically mental health and addiction and developmental disabilities. Located within the center is Just Goods Gifts and Cafe. That is a fair trade store and coffee shop open to the public as well as the members. So instead of creating something that would unintentionally produce more social isolation, we've created a place of social integration where we can confront stereotypes and defeat stigma. We also continue to use the Momentum Center as a venue for community conversations. We bring in expert panelists to talk about topics and again allow the grassroots to inform next steps and solutions for community issues. And finally, we're a brick and mortar resource for a brick and mortar location to find community resources. We collaborate with other community organizations and invite them to bring their resources in so people have a physical location to learn about resources in the community. But the big question is, what difference does it make? Well, our dialogues have normalized the conversation, and more people are feeling free and comfortable talking about their own mental well-being. We've also created an empathy-first community environment, which is offering people hope and motive and purpose and meaning. And in some cases, we're literally saving lives. And now we have the data to back that up. When people arrive, they take initial intake surveys, and then we repeat that at 6-month intervals. We've shown that members who report moderate to severe depression at intake find a 33% decrease in their PHQ-9 scores after 1 year. Those who report moderate to severe anxiety experience a 71% decrease after 1 year. Those reporting moderate to severe loneliness report a 20% reduction after the first year. Those who report moderate to severe stigma report a slight decrease after a year. Now, stigma is an interesting measure because many people come to the center because they believe it's a place they will be safe from the stigma they experience outside. And so the community conversations continue to address that kind of environmental stigma as we address trying to change people's attitudes and reduce the stigma the outside world feels toward those with mental illness, addictions, and disabilities. And people have experienced a statistically significant increase in their level of social connectedness. So we wanted to understand why it was working and conducted qualitative analysis, looking at focus groups and interviews and observations. And in the process, we identified 5 key techniques that underlie the success of the program. The first is MBS, or Management by Strengths Training, that we offer to volunteers and staff. This is a personality profile or a temperament traits training that really establishes that empathy-first environment. Members and staff wear badges to identify their basic personality style. We do have a $1 annual membership fee, which serves people's need for affiliation and also binds them together in an act of symbolic unity and investment. We paid a lot of attention to aesthetics. We didn't want a cold and sterile environment, so we use calming and lively colors, something that is soothing and inviting. We also emphasize destigmatization and safety, which has provided an opportunity for our members to be vulnerable and open with each other. And finally, we allow personal agency. Members have an opportunity to choose what they want to participate in and what they want to opt out of in terms of the activities, outings, and events at the center, the community conversations we hold, or whether they just want to hang out at the gift and coffee shop. So what's next? We have added resiliency measures to our data collection. Anxiety, for instance, can be triggered by something completely outside of our control. But we believe if we're equipping our members with the tools of resiliency, they'll be able to better manage those challenges whenever and wherever they arise. We believe resiliency will be a better measure of our long-term effectiveness. We continue to have community conversations, using that grassroots model to affect change locally. And we are working on documents to establish affiliation requirements. We believe this is a model that can complement clinical and therapeutic resources in any community and are interested in providing the documentation that's required to establish other momentum centers that have integrity to the program we know that is effective. And finally, we will be continuing our ongoing research and evaluation. So what would we ask of viewers? Well, first of all, we are working to distribute our paper and this information. And second, we are looking for communities that might be interested in exploring this particular model of affiliation. And finally, we welcome any feedback on the ongoing research and evaluation. If you're interested in continuing this conversation, please contact me at barbara@momentumcentergh.org. Thank you, and namaste.